Hello world! Patricia O'Connor here, and Frida Reba Darcy is and will be about, I'm certain. Today we're going to do a little show and tell and a little bit more work on our Japanese flax pines. First, I'm going to lighten our load a little by doing some show and tell portions of our program. This tree had a pre-candle that I thought was outrunning the other somewhat, so I nipped it early, and the results of that are useful now. This is what we can expect from cutting the candles on the other trees that we will be cutting candles for. You see that cluster of buds where the old candle used to be. So that was beneficial. Now whereas this tree is not in a bonsai pot, so by cutting its candle is not necessarily going to reduce its needle size. Far from it. It's got plenty of soil and plenty of nutrients in there that it can make new long needles. But what we did do is increase the number of buds on this guy by doing that. So that's one that we will not be working on today, and this is one. When it comes to reasons to do candles or not do candles, one, this little guy is not in a bonsai pot. So by cutting the candles, we would not be affecting its needle length, but we could increase its bud count. However, this tiny little tree is bringing up the rear. It's our runt. The candle on this guy is really a very small band between there and about a very few little needles would be left with that. That is also an example of something that I'm going to leave alone this year. So I'll just take these two guys and slide them out of the way. Give us a little bit more room to work. So that leaves us with what we see here. And what we see here are some trees that we are going to remove, that we're going to remove the candles on. And this is the first week in June. It's like June 3rd, June 4th maybe. But there's some needles in here that are just laid in here dead. I'm getting those out while I'm sitting here. So there's, for instance, Simply Pea here. We do have some needles. We do have some candles to cut here. And also I had done a little pre-candle removal here, here, and here, but not here. And that guy's gone. Now, a little quick turn about to face me and see what else we have. Well, I can see some more needles that I should probably be, some old dead needles I should probably be removing with tweezers. But aside from that, I've got a few more candles here to remove. Now on this guy, it is slightly overpotted, but I would probably still expect to see a shorter round of needles maybe the next time around. That's not necessarily for Simply Pea. Why we would be doing this? Right now, increasing the bud count is still the way to go here. We're not doing this to affect needle size. In fact, I have quite a few pines where I will be reducing the candles as a means of trying to have some say over how long the needles are. And we're not doing those first because we want the needles on those trees to be smaller, which means that I will be doing this on the other end of the window. Right now we're at the opening of the window when it comes time to start removing buds off of our Japanese black pine. Now, this tree is over potted. Excuse me, it's over potted. It obviously has a couple of really nice candles here coming up, but in cutting the candles, we will not be exercising any rules over. We wouldn't be doing this on this tree to try to have a say over how big the candles are. The only reason that we would cut the candles on this guy is so that we can get an increased amount of back buds. And here we go. Because I'm really into the amount of, this is a healthy tree, and you saw the cluster of buds that we got out of that candle that we removed that was an early candle or an early bud. We will get a cluster similar to that out of this. Done. So then that leaves us with this guy. Also, over potted, we're doing root work. We're allowing for this little plug to go out and become exposed roots as this goes away, while at the same time we're encouraging a lot of roots there. So by cutting the candle on this guy, we will not be trying to get smaller needles out of it, because it has enough roots and enough soil and enough nutrients that we will not be shortchanging it anything. It's got more than enough going on down here to where it can make long needles all over again. But by cutting that bud there, we're also keeping our tree shorter. If allowed to, that bud would get way out here. Some of this stuff would begin to filter back and die back. Some of this stuff may die back. But by chopping the bud, by chopping the candle there, we're keeping the tree this short, and we're increasing the amount of buds that come out of the end, which gives us more choices. I don't know how many of those choices I'm going to exercise, but another good reason to maybe not cut the buds would be if I had a big cluster of buds coming out here on the end, and I wanted to just allow them all to run in order to thicken up the trunk, because it's not going to go into a show right now. I'm not trying to make short needles. I might let all of my buds, just all of those candles, go out and thicken instead of making, sometimes you might look at it like, why have one sacrifice branch when you can have 4, So, and that's a thing, that is, but you'll also find that things farther back on the tree that you may want will start dying back because of all of the dominance you're allowing to happen at that end of the tree. So be careful of that, and then as long as you're aware of that and you're making choices based on what you see, you should probably be okay. Let me get that out of here. All right, now I should probably turn this back around and show where we're at on that. So there. Now this is another one. Last night's talk, I was doing a little bit of a show and tell, and I was talking about our literati Japanese black pine. I will be doing the candles on it, but it's in a small, shallow bonsai pot, and its needles need to be about maybe this big, not this big. So, not this big. So I will be doing the candles on it, trying to ensure that they stay small, and I will be doing the candles on it later in this cycle. The same with my 17-year from seed. That will be done towards the end of the window, giving us the least amount of time for that tree to grow new candles. And that lack of time means that it will then grow shorter candles. Okay, got that. Now, you just basically see me popping the tops off these because the tree doesn't have an abundance of branches, but in theory, every one of these, there is a tiny little candle to it. Also, I'm trying to get better about being mindful of leaving my scissors closed until you get to what you're working on, and then kind of pop them open at the last minute. I think that you that's how I've been told to do it. Whenever it comes time to chop stuff and not accidentally chopping stuff, you do better if you leave them closed till the very last second. I'm doing a little cleanup while I'm here looking. All right, so these are pre-bonsais. And even though even though I've done plenty of talks about the reasons why we prune candles, and even though 1, 2, 3 out of 4 of these we prune the candles without that being the reason, Simply P here is in a bonsai pot, and we would like to get a smaller second flush of needles out of this guy, and that's something that we can start working on now. I'm anxious to see how that'll work with this extra little mound of soil we have going there. But the rest of these guys, I like the part where this will drive up the bud count on them, and that will be to big benefit of their development. We'll have more limbs to play with, more branches and more buds, and more stuff. And I'm all about the stuff. So that has pretty much got our first round. I'm probably going to do another one of these, and then another one of these, and then another one of these. As I could have had maybe twice as many trees up here and kept going, but this is enough for now. Also, we'll just make this our next parter, and our next parter after that. The idea is the later that we go in, we're just now in the window for candle cutting, and the later we go, it's because those trees we're going to want shorter needles for. And the ones that we're doing the needles that we're cutting the candles on now are the ones that are over potted, so that it will not have as much of an effect on their needle length because they're over potted. But we're still looking to increase our bud count, and we're still keeping our trees short. And that's the other two benefits to that. Like and subscribe if you guys haven't already. I will probably do another. God, it's a beautiful day. I'll probably do another show. No, we'll do one tonight off the table. The next show will be tonight off the table, and we will be doing a little bit more of the same. Maybe a little slower and a little cooler, a little slower. And then after that, we'll see from there. Towards the end of the month, we will be going to the nicer trees. And when we do that, there's a lot of branches. I won't be able to do a tree in a minute the way I just did these guys. When the 17-year proceeds, that'll be an afternoon by itself. And if I were doing the candles on my Japanese black pine, that would take a minute. We're giving it a break this year. Also, my count on my seedlings, my Japanese black pine seedlings that I have going is currently at 10, with 200 more seeds on the way, and they said to say hello. Thank you so much for watching.